Hello YouTube, Message and a Bother here with another video. Now, I want to continue um, making videos about talking about myself, especially from my last video, and I want to basically discuss what's essentially wrong with me this time. But I'm gonna try my best to put it more simpler and summarize everything because I don't want the video to be over too long. But if it does, go a little too long, then I'll try my best to break it down to a two-part video with the same picture. And as usual, I always pick a picture that relates to the video. Oh, and something real quick, a side note, I apologize for the background noise and of course the ringing noise. I don't know why, but I get a bunch of useless messages during the day. And at the same time, I have a heater fan in the background because it's very cold over here. But anyway, guys, I really do want to discuss about this, and I want to make this video just to get it out of my chest and out of the way. Well, guys, if you remember my last video, I was using the picture of Frederick Douglass because he has a quote that always stuck with me. And the main reason why is because that quote essentially tells an undeniable truth about everybody, and that is that your childhood, depending how you were raised, your childhood will be a huge determined factor of how you're going to be throughout your adulthood. And just a reminder what Frederick Douglass says of his quote. It says, "It's easier to raise a child right than fix a broken adult." I repeat, it's easier to raise a child right than fix a broken adult. That quote always stuck with me because it's essentially true. Depending how you were raised will be a huge determined factor of how you're going to be as a grown adult. That being said, I wanted to essentially discuss, and it relates to the picture that I'm using right now for this video. As this picture says here, me in the middle of the night trying to figure out what's wrong with me. And yeah, there's a lot of things wrong with me, but you could say that it all stems from childhood, and I try my best to be a good person. I try my best to be a better person, especially, you know, stuff like self-care, like hitting the gym, which I'll admit I kind of skipped the gym for the past couple of days, but today, especially after making this video, I'm planning to go to the gym. I try my best to eat healthy, even though I'm a sweet tooth, like I love sugary stuff. I don't drink, I'm proud of that. I don't drink, I don't do drugs. I drank alcohol before, but I never developed an addiction or the necessity of, drinking alcohol. Even in parties, I don't even drink like alcohol in parties. Maybe like once or twice, but like, I don't know, I never got into alcohol. But anyway, guys, to get back to the topic, if you guys remember my last video, I was essentially all over the place about my childhood. But to summarize what happened in my childhood is that I was raised by parents that were essentially ignorant of how to raise a child properly. But at the same time, and I'll give them credit, they tried, but at the same time, I feel like there were many moments in my life where I feel like I was just born out of accident. I was born because my parents, they didn't really plan out stuff very well. And despite that they didn't plan out stuff very well, they did try. They did try to do their best with me, but back in my childhood, like back in my memories, there were so many drama that they had that I feel like whatever is going on with me was like a third wheel, if that makes any sense. It wasn't even a side quiz, it was just a third wheel. And kind of sucks because I really wanted a normal childhood. I clearly remember when I was a little kid, especially when I was like 6 years old, I was kind of envious with people that were with other kids that had a normal family, if that makes any sense. Like, whenever I see a nuclear family, whenever I see a child with a mother, a father, a older sister, older brother, younger sister, younger brother, etc., all in one household, I was kind of envious because growing up, witnessing my own father, my own biological father, getting cheated on, and eventually he has to leave because my mother won custody over me, and of course they broke up and all that stuff. Growing up, seeing all that drama, and eventually being raised in a out of wedlock household in a broken family, it made me super envious with the people that had a stable family, that were raised by a stable family. And more importantly, I was kind of envious by kids who was raised by a mother that knew, or at least had some ideas of how to raise a child correctly. Because my mother, she was completely ignorant. Like, I'm not trying to talk bad about my mother, but there were moments where the way she handled some things were questionable. And I feel like if my mother was a little bit more educated on some stuff, she would have, you know, she would have gave me a better childhood than my memory had me believing. And the saddest part is that my mother is one of those women that she won't admit her mistake. Like, she will dodge and deflect mistake. And this is why I got into MGTOW, because some of the stories that MGTOW and the Black Pill community talks about women, it's super relatable of me witnessing what my mother do. And again, I'm not trying to talk bad about my mother. Believe me when I say this, I love my mother, but since she's human, she's a woman, she made some mistakes. There are some things that kind of made me wish she does some things different. And because I was raised in that environment, usually when people have when they acknowledge they having issues, the first thing people do is look for a solution. And for me, eventually I stumble to the MGTOW community and of course to the Black Pill community and other political stuff. And the main reason why I got into this stuff is because they were super relatable of what I've been experiencing. And this is something that people kind of fail to understand, is why people, you know, get, what's the best way I can put it? Why people get radicalized, or why people get, like, why people develop a mentality, or should I say a worldview. It's all because of how we were raised and what we witnessing through our very own eyes. And this is where I kind of wish people were more empathetic and more understanding where we're coming from. So me growing up, witnessing all that stuff, of course I'm gonna develop you know, some kind of mentality, or develop some kind of worldview of how I see things through the world. And if you guys remember in my last video, I also talked about social isolation. So as I was growing up, you could say that I kind of peaked in terms of being social in elementary school. Around middle school, I start declining, in terms of sociability. And high school, I definitely fail in sociability. Like I never got invited to party you or even had a girlfriend. Like I did have a girlfriend, but that was after high school. But that will be a separate video for another time. But high school, I was definitely that loner weirdo who's not even smart. Who I was like, best way I could put it. Have you guys ever watched those movies about, is a loser all of a sudden become a hero? Well, I'm essentially that loser, but without, becoming a hero. Because those movies, they're obviously a fantasy catering to those losers. And I'm essentially one of those losers. So, as you guys can imagine, I want to like fit in, be in a group. And the only type of group that I seem to fit in is the autistic weirdos that basically form their own group. And obviously, I wanted to fit in. I wanted to have my own tribe, so I fit in those type of people. And it's kind of sucks because when you're when you know you have issues and you try your best to keep it to yourself, people still look at you as if your issues is going to be a threat to them. But what's funny is that the people who understands that if you keep your issues to yourself, they will not see you as a threat. And I had those moments where people understand me, and I also had moments where people don't like me, but at the same time they respected me, and I greatly admire that. I admire people who, you know, don't like a person, but at the same time you respect the person and be polite towards them, because it's a human thing to do. It's like the honorable thing to do, and I respect that. I'll discuss more about that, but that's in a later video. But what I dislike is that when you're developing issues and you try your best to keep your issues to yourself, not let your issues to offend, or at least what's the best way I can put it, harm anyone in any other way. I hate it when people act like you're the threat, even though there are other threats bigger than you know than yourself keeping it to yourself. I hope I'm making sense here, guys. But basically, what I'm trying to say is that I just hate it when people hates me for no reason. Like, to give you guys an example, just by making this YouTube video itself, I'm probably gonna attract some haters, and you know, and those haters, they're just gonna hate just for no reason. So yeah. And looking back in my childhood memories, I clearly remember that some kids, they just don't like me, which is fine. Like, as a adult right now, I accept that not everybody's gonna like you, but it's kind of funny when you look back and see that the people that don't like you for no reason tries to like instigate something against you, only to make themselves look bad in front of others. And I had those moments, especially in high school. But anyway, what I want to discuss, and sorry I'm derailing from the topic, but what I want to discuss is um, all these issues that's wrong with me really stems from my childhood. And as I stated, that social isolation really did damage me. If you guys were to meet me in real life, you guys would know that I'm kind of socially awkward. Like, there's something wrong with me. And that's because I'm so used to being alone that, you know, just the act of socializing with other people, it's kind of difficult for me to properly interact with other people. And because of that, I tend to socialize better with people who are kind of on the autistic spectrum. Which, funny enough, recently I made a new friend who I met like 2 years ago. And this friend, I still text him to this day. This friend, he's definitely on the autistic spectrum, but me and him, we met through church, and because he had a similar childhood where he, well, I won't discuss more in details, but I will say that because he had a bad childhood and because he tries his best to do the right thing and keep his issue to himself, me and him, we kind of got along. And that experience reminds me of an old saying, your vibe attracts your tribe. So because I had a bad childhood and because I'm socially retarded, like I have a hard time socializing with people, I tend to attract people that are socially awkward, that, you know, don't know how to socialize properly. So because of that, I tend to make friends with people that are, are on the spectrum. Now, what the saddest part about this is that when you're trying your best to fight your own issues, the parents that kind of raised you badly, they don't want to admit the mistakes. And throughout my teenage years, especially my late teenage years, my stepdad and my mother acts like whatever issue that I'm having, they expect me to fix it on my own. But the saddest part is that they don't want to admit that the damage they did to me was already done. Now, I have a gut feeling they acknowledge it, and since they acknowledge it, they trying their best to raise my baby brother properly. And right now, my baby brother, he is like not just normal, like a normal person, but he is way, way better than I am in terms of sociability, in terms of keeping his grades very good. Like recently, I talking to my baby brother. He has a 3.8 GPA, almost a 4.0 GPA. And aside from him being super social, like he's always hanging out with friends, and he's in high school, by the way, my baby brother. Um, Aside from being very social, he's also very focused on school. Like, the best way I could put it, my baby brother, definitely he has a much better childhood than I am. And because of that, I could definitely see my baby brother excelling in his adulthood because of, being raised properly. But the saddest thing is that this is from lessons that my parents learned from the mistakes that they did to me. And right now, me as a grown ass man, I'm trying my best to fix myself. I'm trying my best to fix what's wrong with me. And one of the saddest thing that I'm currently going through is I'm about to get a upper jaw surgery to fix my mouth. And this jaw surgery stemmed from what I had when I was born. When I was born, I was born with a cleft lip, and my mouth was disfigured. Now, I did went to the dentist and I did had some braces, but the braces thing, they had to take it off because my gums were swelling. But after a couple of years later, I was discussing a to. Sorry, guys, I'm losing my words here. I was talking to this woman, and this woman, she was helping me with medical stuff. And when she was digging through my medical history, she discovered that in my childhood, I was supposed to get a surgery to fix my mouth once and for all, and before I could grow up more normal looking, if that makes any sense. Because right now, if you guys were to see me in real life, my mouth is a little off, and it's very telling that it's very off. And because my mouth is kind of off, my nose is also kind of disfigured. Like, best way I could say it, my nose is crooked. It's definitely crooked. And this woman, when she went through my medical history, when she told me that I was supposed to get a surgery in my childhood to be more normal looking, I was severely depressed. I was depressed because, well, just like this topic, just like this picture that you see right here, in the middle of the night, trying to figure out what's wrong with me. All these issues stems in my childhood. I got very depressed because me, currently as a grown-ass man, some of the issues that I'm having really stems from my childhood, including some medical stuff like my mouth. So, sorry guys, I'm getting emotional, but yeah, your childhood is like the most important period of your lifetime, and depending how you were raised, it will affect you throughout your adulthood. I'm very happy that my baby brother, he has a way better childhood than I have, and I intend to support my baby brother throughout his life. Me, as a grown-ass adult, I'm trying my hardest to break some old habits and fix myself, and I'm trying my hardest to be more social. I'll admit, despite that I'm socially retarded, it's very hard to put myself out there. It really is. Because I did develop some social anxiety. But, you know, people would still look at you as if, you know, what the hell is wrong with you? And yet, you know, you're fully aware that what's wrong with you, but you're trying your hardest. And just like my medical history, it all stems from your childhood. Well guys, I went over the 20-minute mark. I'll make a part 2 of this video with the same picture, but I hope you guys understand where I'm coming from, and I hope you understand why I'm developing like this worldview, this mentality. And the saddest part about this is that despite I'll probably have some empathy from my audience, there will always be some critics, there will always be somebody out there that will hate you for no freaking reason. Even if you have common sense, like what I'm witnessing with the political stuff, even if you have common sense, people are still gonna hate you, and they will look at you as if you're the ultimate demon or you're the ultimate villain, even though you're just a person who just want to live a good life for yourself and for your loved ones. Well guys, I'm gonna end it here since I ranted too much, but thank you for listening and have a good day. Goodbye.